please give me a big round of applause for Lindsay and Geoff Hadley. Come on, Riley. All right. I'll take that one.
Okay.
Hi, guys. We'll put you on these two chairs, and we'll give you a company. We got to get on the stage. Thanks for you.
So it's right here.
Okay. Well, we've got the first time on the show an Aussie accent. And if you want to just toss that pillow behind you, I don't blame you. Let's just get rid of those. They're just for show while it sits there, right? We've got an Aussie accent on the show. So let's start about that.
She doubted it or wasn't finished. Like a trick to.
Well, yeah, I say I married him for his accent. He married me for a green card. It's a pretty good trade.
Yeah. Okay, we're all mics going, by the way, until we all good. Just wanted to do a quick check. We thought we were testing all systems on the fly here. Last time we did this, we did all podcast podcast mics. And what we found was we were all like really tight here. So we're like, let's just throw headsets on and have fun.
I literally couldn't even see the couple in front of me because the mic was right here in front of my face.
What was a minute ago?
We're doing Alex after this one treat. Absolutely.
Nice. I love this. I love what you're doing. Thanks everybody for coming.
So let's start here. How did two of you meet?
Wow, 20 years ago. So I was in college. It was summer in Australia, so summer break, winter up in Utah, and had a trip planned. See buddies, going solo trip, like a 2-month thing. Just an epic adventure.
And you're a surfer, right? So surfing, snowboarding, that kind of felt like a beach town.
America was like the destination, especially the mountains here. So, it's kind of a great trip. So I came in, said to a friend who's working a lot, was kind of just killing time some days. One of those days, I was just at the Dollar Movies in Sugar House. Anyway, it was that long time ago.
Those were the days.
Yeah. And see it right here. I was coming out in the foyer, saw a movie, and I see this like tall, giant man with long hair.
This tall, chubby, really pretty guy.
Oh, man.
And I recognized him from that point. I didn't know him too well, but I recognized it. Same thing with kind of.
Oh, crazy.
Weird to me. I think if you went anywhere in the world and sit something,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, right.
His name is Jamie Tarr.
Jamie Tarr, and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going to this girl's house." Ben met before. He's like, "You should come along." I'm like, "I like girls. Let's go here." And so we both turned up at Lindsay's house because this guy had been just into her sister. Older sister, he's tall, like this big giant, the tall guy, and her older sister's pretty tall as well. So he's like, "I want to marry a tall girl." I was just there. He had to walk out a tall black. He was meeting Lindsay to,
We all have types.
Well, my sister at Blunibet, they met Institute classes. He was in LDS Australia. He was only like a couple of them more, but anyway, he visited Australia. I'm making a little bit of a joke, but but anyway, he was visiting. He came here to try to find a Mormon wife. That's what he said.
Oh.
So he was
Like,
Jake said a big hit. So he was here trying to find a tall Mormon girl, and I guess he took 4 years of institute in 1 year. So he just like went back-to-back classes.
One day, every day. Fire bell.
And he saw my sister who's tall and beautiful, and he went up to her and tried to, as the kids say, brizz her up or whatever.
I've never heard that.
I probably used that wrong. But anyway.
We've changed points.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, but ultimately, she was dating her now husband, and so she wasn't interested. So to pawn him off, she gave him my phone number.
Oh.
And at the time, I was visiting in town for Christmas, but I lived in Southern California. I was playing soccer there, so I just happened to be in town. And so the reason she gave my number too, she was able to pull off of me instead of saying I'm pawning this guy off on you, is that I was planning independently of ever meeting Geoff. My best friend and I were planning to go to Australia that summer, backpack for fun. And so she's like, "This Australian guy, maybe he could tell you where to, like."
And he was, big, bold presence, really overwhelming, and just kind of like she was like, well, this guy's too much.
Yeah.
Deflect.
Yeah.
Now he's watch this, Geoff. Anyway,
He's the reason why we got
he did ham up the Australian ness, I guess.
Yes.
And so
About Dundee.
yeah, he, his voice message said, crikey. I think anyone under 60 uses the word crikey in Australia that Bob or Wayne, Steve's son.
We're gonna have to hear you
Yes.
saying that.
And, he wore a Cooper hat in the middle of winter, which is an Australian hat that has corks hanging down from it so that the mozzies, the mosquitoes don't hit you, but he wore it in the middle of winter in Utah.
Oh.
So he was just he had a dead cave toe for his coin purse. I mean, he was really, really living as Australian,
Yes.
iconic image. And so when I answered the phone, he was so full on. He was like, "G'day, how you going?" And he was just, trying to talk with me. And I was just interested to meet him because, I was going to Australia. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming over." And he just happened by total serendipity to be in, the same place as my husband and invite him along.
Oh.
So they come up
We arrived at her place.
Yeah.
But she could only hang out for like an hour, like really, really briefly. Because I'm just staying. And we clicked just immediately, But he was there to meet her though, right? That was his intention.
Yeah, so that's a little
So
bit
he sees this happen. Then he gets mad. He's like, "Man, you didn't find your own way home," and leaves me at that place.
I mean, he's not for being a background looking guy. No offense, Jamie. So anyway, he comes in and sparks, blue emotions ran high. We're like flirting. And I did, full disclosure, I didn't have a boyfriend at the time. So I didn't intend anything else, just for him. He's just, but anyway, we basically were flirty. And there was chemistry, obviously, but I didn't entertain anything past this is a lovely, nice, good-looking Australian sexy surfer that I'm going to go visit in 6 months' time with my roommates. And he was telling us, "Oh, I'll show you around and all this stuff." So great, we'd love that, It was platonic and really harmless. But Jamie did. We were like, "Go in the door, hit you all the way out,"
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, he used an Australian colloquialism. He said, "You cut me long, mate," which I guess is like cock blocking. Can you say that? Do you have to beat that out?
Sure. There are rules.
So anyway, that's how it started. Good old Jamie Tarr brought us together. But the story thickens because I go to California. Geoff goes home to Australia, and
Well, actually, really, really quickly though.
yeah,
So because she had to be somewhere when you have that short amount of time, she's like, "I'll give you a ride home." So she does that. And that night, I call my dad back in Australia, like, "Hey, found the girl I'm going to marry."
which
That's-
is so romantic.
Stop. The after meetings the one time we call you that acid.
So let's dive into that.
Yeah.
Like, what made you think after an hour that's it? Was it a voice from above?
Stuff at W, what I can put in that. It was just everything about it. Like, I'd never met a girl this dynamic, this engaging, like selfishly the way she made me feel about myself and the interaction I'm having, the love she was projecting. I was like, whoa, I'm undone.
It was fireworks
Hands up.
immediately.
Yeah.
Which I'm so glad he reserved to tell me until we were dating, because it would have did take between super romantic and creepy starbursts. Your feelings. I thought he was cute, but that would have been
Series Howie, crazy fireworks. He's going home telling his dad or calling his dad, "I found my future wife."
Yes.
And then where are you at?
Unbeknownst to me, I have a boyfriend back in California, and I just think this is a lovely new shrike for Australia, and it's very handsome. And it's about to
So I got to scheming, right? They were like, "You marry this girl. She's trustable. This is crazy." But I'm like, word once, right? And then, and there's so many details in the story. My gosh.
It's an epic love tale. We're giving you the long
And
preview, but
I think the gist of it is it was timing. The timing had to have been the way it was, or else so many things would have
Oh, totally.
well, we started doing the long distance, AOL Instant Messenger. He would call me on the phone and once a month. This back when this is dating us for all the young people listening, but the calling cards had 11 alien numbers, and you 5 minutes left, whatever. And so
I would say I know, but I don't.
yeah, you guys are too young. So anyway, it's before Zoom and Skype and things where you could call for free to the world. But ultimately, we got to know each other through email, through instant messenger, through these phone calls. And 6 months later, I was supposed to go to Australia for my friends. And the day before we were packing up, I started feeling really sick and nauseous. I'm like, oh no. And I started throwing up and I had all these flu-like symptoms, diarrhea, vomiting, and headaches. And I was like, oh no, I got the flu. And we had standby tickets. A friend of ours got us standby tickets. So I chose buddy classes, yeah. And I told my friends, I was like, I don't want you to miss any of this trip. So we only had like 2 weeks to go. And I just said, why don't you go without me and I'll meet you there? Like, hopefully it's, worst case scenario, 72-hour bug or something. Well, they go that night to try to get on the plane, but a volcano had erupted, Fiji. And because of it, the plane had to go around the debris. And because of it, they took no standby passengers. So my roommates and my best friend didn't get on the plane. They ended up coming home empty-handed, all dejected, but literally saved my life because I was not sick with the flu. I actually had meningitis, which is very critical. You can die often within 24 hours, 48 hours without antibiotics. And so
You could have been on a plane.
and die. Yeah, it was just like a miracle. But like ultimately, they came back. They saw that I was so sick. They were like, something's really wrong. The next morning, I was like barely responsive. They took me to the ER, and the hospital actually misdiagnosed me with the flu, gave me an IV and an anti-nausea medication that sent me home. And unbeknownst to me, I'm allergic to anti-nausea medication.
Okay, so guess what?
Also saved my life. So then I had a seizure, like a conscious seizure, which are very disturbing if anyone's ever had these. All the involuntary muscles in my arms and neck and eyes are contracting. So it's like a seizure, but you're totally awake.
And you're
A lot of times you have seizures and they go unconscious. I was fully awake having this experience, just like body snatchers, terrifying. I didn't know what was going on. They called 911, an ambulance brought me back to the emergency room where they then caught that it was, meningitis. I spent the next month in the hospital in my sick bed. I lost 23 pounds from, my normal healthy weight. I was like emaciated and so ill. I spent months and months and months recovering. In the meantime, Geoff, the last time he'd heard from me was like 3 days before this. I'm like, we'll see you from soon.
In like 2 days, then nothing. Weeks go by.
And it came in stood up for sure.
Yeah, I'm like, these American girls just like,
His sister
freaking long.
So they were like, this hussy, because she just like stood him up and basically
Yeah,
it was really hard
How
to.
you do the excuse, right?
So he finally finds out from one of the roommates through MySpace that like I was in the hospital on my deathbed
Oh my gosh.
for day before
Well, that's a valid excuse.
my unresponsibility.
The interesting part, one of the interesting parts about it is that if that reason that the friends didn't get on that flight, if they had have gone, then the two of them would have gone on their trip, and
I might have died.
Lindsay might have died, but she would never have gone by herself later.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they didn't go was like huge in our story of CUBD.
That's
happening.
Like everything.
So 6 months later, I ended up going to Australia with my best friend. The other roommate and her decided to go to, because they had this vacation time, they decided to go to Lake Palp instead, where my other roommate met her husband. And so my best friend at the wedding, when she told the story, she's like, she got asthma, I didn't get a boyfriend. She told me there. But long story short, like the biggest moral of the story that we learned through our kind of epic love tale of near-death experiences, is that the things that seem like they're the worst in your life can actually bring you the best things in your life, right? I know I'm saying that to pick you through the worst thing I can imagine versus what is a child. So I'd love to hear if you feel the same way, but like, I just know in my life, some of the most heartache, devastating, colossally, ravaging things, there's that cause and effect that later, like you go back and if you, in the totality of your life, well, I couldn't change it because of who I became. It's not that you don't want that person back. You wouldn't do it different now. It's rather that it gets redeemed through love and through our responses to tragedy.
Yes, for sure. It's almost like it just completely rips you open to your core. And then at your core, you're able to rebuild and to find love in different lights.
Yeah, and I think like I just learned, this volcano erupting Fiji, near-death experiences, allergic reactions, all of these things like combined brought us together. And he's definitely the best thing that ever happened to me. So grateful for it.
Pretty crazy.
She ends up making it to Australia 6 months later, so a full year gone by the time we first met.
I didn't have a boyfriend anymore.
Her boyfriend, her soccer scholarship had shifted, so if she had come in the summer, she would only have 2 weeks to visit. And so because the 6-month postponed trip meant her
Spring schedule, I could skip school.
So her 2-week trip turned to 3 months.
Okay.
She's like pushing the flight back.
Yes, I was falling in love.
Okay, so at this point, it's more than just, oh, he's cute.
Hanging out, or he devised this plan that if I could get these girls to fall in love in Australia, they'll maybe stay long enough to fall in love with me. And he was super effective in it. So he did fall in love with Australia, and I just kept staying and definitely fell in love with him.
Yeah, I followed it back like a week later, walked the hand trip. And
3 months later, we got
3 months. So 3 months in Australia, 3 months in Utah, and then we got married at the end of that 3-month Utah stint.
which is really a quick engagement and really quick. We'd only known each other a year and a half, but because of the, the international travel and visas, we had to make, it forced us to get married quicker, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it was really,
But we were even in Australian part of that trip that were like,
yeah, this is definitely my person. You guys know, when you know, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that too. You talk about those events that take place in your life. It's so hard in the moment to have patience, right? So I want to come back to you. You meet a girl on your first night. You're like, that's the girl I'm going to marry. How long was it until you saw her again now? Like almost a year.
oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How did you keep that patience and that alive? Did you give up? Did you abandon that thought? Or did you know, hey, I'm going to stick to whoever?
Right. I never had actually, I've never thought about it. I've never had an abandonment thought at all. It was always just like, that's the goal. That was my,
And that never
that
wavered.
was my prize. That was what I was waiting for. And I think because we did connect at least every week or two, I'd phone all the time and you would chat for an hour or so each time. It was great because we're connecting on just that level. Sure. Right. So when we saw each other, person was just like weird or anything.
So all the friendship was there.
Yeah. That was a great basis.
Long distance before getting dating is super healthy because it's not based on anything physical. Sure. Right? I mean, his accent's great. Here you go. I did the butterflies. They were typical.
I love it.
Yeah, 3 months of her family, 3 months of mine. We saw each other's worst and best, and how she interacted with her parents and siblings, and when she was irritated, and the whole myriad of personality. It wasn't a shock to get married. It seemed the best and worst of each other.
And then was it hard to choose where you're going to live or?
Great question. I had a soccer scholarship and I was open to go to Australia. I loved it there. But he was just like, I've always wanted to live in America. We just kind of.
So it just works.
It made sense. The scholarship is a huge thing. And I'm like, let's pack up my credits from university and transfer to America. How hard could that be?
None of them transferred.
No. It took 2 years of school, because we go straight to our major out of high school. And so not only did I not pick up where I left off, or go to the beginning of my degree, to get the beginning of like an associate's degree, because everyone's familiar with here, but I was like, whoa, that's a huge blow in for education. But
It's kind of starts of like kind of some of the ruptures of like a paths that we didn't anticipate, where our gender roles were really switched to penalties to be. I know that's something we're seeing.
I love that. But on to there next. I'm going to ask you real quick. Hey, Devin, can you bring us up 4 waters? Really, if you grab some waters for us, that'd be awesome. But I want to talk through, you all of a sudden made a shift in your career. Like I knew you were a stockbroker early on, right? Kind of living that life. And then all of a sudden, thank you. This is a live show. This is what happens. You get pretty awkward for yourself. Yeah, thanks, Deb. You had a pretty cool moment, it seems like, when you made a perspective shift where you went from living one life to all of a sudden going to be really motivated by impact, motivated by how you could help people. Talk about that shift.
yeah, probably a good point for you, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't really intentionally create the situation. We were both raised LDS and pretty strong gender roles, and every woman in my world were stay-at-home moms. I had one aunt who was a therapist and an aunt who was a bus driver, but everybody else, teacher, my grandma, but like for predominantly they were career women. In my life, like in the community that I grew up in, and I later, ran into some women, but it wasn't my whole view. And I remember asking my dad when I was studying in college, like, what should I major in? He's like, it doesn't matter, you're just gonna be a mom, And so that was my upbringing, So I never imagined like where things have gone. It couldn't have dreamed it.
Is he still rare?
Yeah, he is.
What is he thinking of what you're doing now?
Yeah, he's incredibly proud. I think he delights in like what I'm doing, and it's changed his view. But candidly, there are real heartaches and difficult parts, not just from my upbringing and culture. There is a unique situation for women who are the primary breadwinners, which has been a case for the majority of our marriage, not all the time, but for the majority of our marriage, that is, that are dynamics we've had to wrestle with, which we're so happy to talk about. I don't think a lot of people talk about this in a safe way. And we worked really hard through that struggle. And I think like, there's a couple things I think, this isn't for everybody. Some people are really intentional. Like I have some friends who are like, I knew I wanted to do X. I found a guy who'd support me in that. That was their frame. That wasn't us. Like I really thought I was going to be a mom. And I chose a nonprofit career in my early, out of college years because it was just something I felt passionate about. So I was doing humanitarian work around the world. And I just thought it was supplementary till I had babies and had my first son 17 years ago and, quit my job to be with my baby. And Geoff was a stockbroker. And then in 2008, collapsed the market. And his job he was running very well. It was a great situation. Like, was there a rug trick to us?
Oh, wow.
So I had to go
Yeah,
back.
it's overnight, right? Like,
Yeah. And so I had
to act. Life, and you get a mortgage, car payments, and just like the burden of just
in a baby.
surviving. And I said, when my career was just shelved, and we're like, crap, like we just got to do stuff to exist, to get by.
Yeah.
Her, what was like a supplemental advisory role, I guess we could say, to what I was doing, shifted because she was skilled in that industry. She's also very talented. And so what became an advisor, type of role, like said, became more of like a steering the boat.
Yeah.
I had that was kind of more
overnight.
say the dad supporting that and her role just so we could like make ends meet, pay bills, get an income, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then her career just kind of that trajectory just kept going.
Yeah, my career really skyrocketed and I had some early, really huge successes that put me in a lot of demand signals where I was being, courted and hired by some of the most influential people in the world, the most famous and high profile people. And the compensation was so outweighing what he could do. And in the early parts of this, after the stockbroker job kind of disappearing, was he tried to be an entrepreneur and wasn't having wins. Like there's a lot of headwind. My mentor taught, he was a pilot, and he talks about headwind versus tailwind. My career had all the tailwind and just had all the headwind.
Ooh.
So it becomes like untenable when you start to be like, I literally can make 4 times what you make in an hour, and you have a little family, and he's wonderful with our children. But it wasn't like the whole time I was under this delusion that like, no, I'm just stay at mom. He's just figuring it out. And then like when he starts making more than me, like I'll go back to doing the mom thing, It just, anybody who knows us knows how funny this is because it's just been like my career full on most of the time. And Geoff has been so supportive and supplemental. We eventually figured out that this wasn't really changing. And Geoff actually joined me in starting our own impact firms, a consultancy after I executive through some of the founding thing called the Global Citizen Festival, which is a massive music festival in Central Park where we leverage billions of dollars for world tour, every stage and half.
It's like today's version of Live Aid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're so cool.
Thank you. It was a beautiful thing to build and be a part of it. And I started getting asked by a lot of people to come run their charities or be their development professional or fundraise for them or produce their events. And so we started a little boutique agency. We ran it together, and that lasted for 10 years. But the dynamic was hard many times.
Tricky.
Sometimes it was amazing because we're together. We could travel the world. Our boys, they moved 19 times. That sounds crazy, but we're like basically gypsies. We've gone to 45 different countries. We've lived in different countries. We've traveled the world. We've been part of the most incredible projects.
And most of their client work was maybe 3-6 months at a time. So yeah, policies, just there.
Wow, 6 months. Yeah. So we just were agile and we were together, but did it. And the kids just like sit in that world. We would pull them in and out of school and homeschool them. And Geoff was so amazing, so naturally present, and he's such calming energy.
Sure.
And so,
But at the time, you kind of just wearing the hats, right? Like you wear, you have to do anything. You wear the parent hat, same thing. He's kind of
both cleaning, both like those roles, those gender roles, we usually be obliterated in a sense, but what did happen, something that I wish I told my younger self, this was a risk, but I do believe that we are both spiritually and biologically wired for certain frames. I think we all have masculine and feminine energy in us.
For sure.
But I do believe there are an essence, and this isn't for everybody, but I think it's a generalization. I think it has to do with, all of the development in antiquity. I mean, women had, for example, had to constantly be hypervigilant to be more attuned to aggression and use fawning and things because we weren't as strong. Like as a species, you could just punch me in the throat and I'd be out. He's bigger than me, you know? So we had to use things like reading subtext and cues and be more hypervigilant about risk than men.
Wow.
We had to multitask in our raids more. For example, stoking a fire while making sure we don't eat the poisonous berries while making sure our bait is ate by a crocodile.
Wow.
And we had to work in
It's an Australian scenario.
yeah, it's a must-ready example. So, you know, these dynamics are going on and we have a lot more layered thinking, a lot more hypervigilance, a lot more wired for a lot more stress and anxiety as women. Men have much more single-minded brains, and they've studied this in the
dial in.
Dale great. Like this is science. It's not my opinion, this part. But yeah, their ability to compartmentalize, be hyper-focused, be hyper-fixated. Men tend to be, on average, they've done the multivariate analysis on this about women and men, but men tend to be more interested in things, and women tend to be more interested in people. Things scale, and they tend to make more money. And so most men, when they go, they build tech companies, they do things that are like commerce. You know, the private sector is wired for a male brain. And then on top of it, we've had a dog-eat-dog meritocracy, that aggression, that assertion, things that we allow men to do in our culture, it make them look, you know, admirable and strong and confident. It makes you a bitch if you're a woman doing the same thing. Totally. And those are real double standards. And part of it's socialized, part of it is biological, and I think evolutionarily and psychologically coming out of that. And it's part of it is spiritual too, I think. I think women naturally want to be in a playful, nurturing essence where they're protected and they're provided for, and then they take that and then do that. But provision can mean different things is what we've learned. But there's tensions and difficulties there, both on the social norms and relational norms, you know, because over time, as the CEO of our company, who's like in charge of my name and anxiety and stress, he would become like an employee. And that's not a good dynamic in a male and feminine.
She was 95% of the engine and the mechanics moving this agency forward. You know, I was providing a service as well, so we're doing it together. But it was her baby, you know what I mean? And so that dynamic was tricky.
Yeah, it could be. Sometimes it was a matey, and then sometimes it wasn't. Like everything, you pick up a stick, there's two sides to it, you know, it's two sides to a coin. So our dynamic of working together as couples, not having, being enmeshed and not having like a lot of boundaries about those things, started to put strain on our relationship. Nah, I didn't ever know. We've always had a really beautiful relationship where there's always been love and esteem. We've had so many of our friends say the best marriage and best relationship we've ever had.
It's easy to see.
Oh, well, thank you. We were so flattered by that, but ultimately a couple of years ago, it started having strain. It started to be like, wait, this isn't working. Like what, this thing that was working is now maladaptive, a problem. We had to look at it, and that was really frightening to me because there's nothing I value more in my life than my marriage. And so to first have to admit that it was like broken or struggling or hurt, I was like, this precious thing is.
I think you overlook so much. You can justify the stressful past. Like, well, this is because we're in startup mode, and yeah, it's gonna be hard, and there's so much grinding, but it's gonna pay off later on. And so you just kind of deal with the confrontations, the negative elements, to be like, well, it's okay because it'll be better later. Yeah. Then all of a sudden,
like years goes on, and you're like, oh, this is a tension.
we need to address this and fix it because we're gonna divide and we're gonna keep going down.
Well, and getting educated and like studying and understanding that this is not something maybe we're uniquely experiencing. A lot of women are the primary breadwinners now. They're shifting into these roles, and there's a lot of dynamics where women tend to want to have a man that is either equal or higher earning than her, and it's subconscious. Like there's a lot of women who are like, I don't have any problem with it, but you lived through it, and Geoff was never jealous or begrudging of my success, but it does feel diminishing sometimes.
Like his masculinity.
Yeah, right. Like his core stuff, and then culture. People are like all the time with their events. Oh, so like talking. What do you do? And then or what I've literally have this hundreds of times. What does your husband do?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Would they curse you? Right?
Yeah, all the time. My husband does not realizing I'm the person with the more significant career, so to speak. But recently we did a lot of work with therapy. I tried to study and understand that these needs, like for example, women, just for women that are the crowd, there's a lot of single women now, a lot of women that are the crowd breadwinners, but they have what they call a second shift. So because the hypervigilance and layered thinking, you constantly see things that aren't working, whether it's the bathroom that's not right, or the bananas have gone off or whatever. I can't tell you how many times I would come home and be like, "There's the toilet paper's the wrong way," and then he just constantly felt nagged and criticized. If the littlest things, it was just because women just tend to do that, even if they weren't the primary breadwinners or the boss lady of the family. That's just our wiring, constantly like seeing what is not right in our space and not right in the world relationally. All there's all those rom-com is hard. It's like that was great, and like I hated her, whatever. Like there's all these subtexts going on.
Yeah. Can I ask, when was that moment? Like, communication obviously is the most important thing in any relationship, especially a romantic relationship, right? And so all of those different dynamics you were navigating, how did you communicate through those? Like, how did you game plan? Like, this week, should we tell our Hadleys?
Sure.
I do all the laundry now, and she's gonna do all the cooking. We're like, this is the greatest deal ever. I hate cooking, and I want to do it. And she hates laundry. She's allergic to laundry. And I'm like, I don't mind it. It's actually okay, right? And so was it just continual conversations like that over and over? Or did it get to the point where they didn't happen, and that's when you realized, oh crap, we have a problem?
Yeah, and we seem to pivot it a lot. That survival mode was so it was so common.
Yeah, it was unconscious almost. Like we were just
Yeah.
reactive instead of proactive.
Yeah.
Where there wasn't, looking back, there should have been far more of that. Clear boundaries, maybe.
We're just open discussion was safe, where we felt safe. Because
Not that we struggled too much in that anyway, but just
it would boil up because of things suddenly when we could have addressed it earlier. Like, for example, just the other day I came home from somewhere and like, oh, the toilet paper's not on the thing, and I was just commenting because I see it, and he was like, and he said, don't be critical, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I realized my tone was critical. I was bothered, and I was letting him know. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for picking me up and booking my flight and buying the toilet paper and the bathroom's cleaned and I love you so much.
If they wait for him, there'd be no toilet paper.
So, like whatever it is, but vice versa, like his trying to take over certain parts. So, for example, he went and got his contractor's license and is building our home and has a job when he finishes our home to keep building. Just, getting outside of working under me in the business helps us tremendously.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's so much room for us to have more partnership than a hierarchy dynamic.
Yeah.
He didn't really need to do it never was like intentional. So I'm super grateful. But I will say, in terms of communication, Geoff's the most masculine thing about Geoff. So for a lot of men, this would feel really horrible to share this, to talk about this stuff. But the most masculine thing about Geoff is he has been the most incredible provider I've ever seen of a real life example as a man to create emotional safety for me. And I can't think of anything, because really, at the end of the day, money and housing and all that, for most of us in the world, not everybody, and actually billions of people don't have basic securities, but for most of us in our culture, in Western society, we're probably not going to go without shelter and food for the most part. And so really the perception of lack of security is actually fairly flawed. It's not quite as real as we are exaggerating it in our heights, right? Like there's probably no situation. It would be pretty statistically impossible that me and my kids would not be able to eat, and with all of the friends and people I have, my life and all the opportunities we have, even our government backstopping or our faith community. I mean, so that fear of feeling like this insecurity of security is actually not real. The most of this is actually just emotional. It's an emotional frame. And so when I started realizing how much Geoff provides such emotional provision,
Which helps you do your work.
and then allows me to thrive, and trying to work hard to be differential to this masculine energy, like being a follower more and being differential and having him lead and making as many decisions as possible, because I do have a lot of decision making to deal with my job. It's such high demand. Yeah. So it was a lot, but I would say he was the hero in our marriage in humility, in communicating through love, in being patient, and in ultimately standing up, because he is so agreeable and easygoing that, it's that, I think in therapy we learned there's like latent and blatant personalities, and we can all shift to different relationships, but there's usually somebody who's more, they get more intense when they feel abandoned, and the late person pulls away. And so it's that anxious, weird dynamic, right? And then it's often the women, but they'll get more anxious when they see the man pulling away. He was the one that started leaning in. Even just saying like, calm the heck down. Yeah. But anyway, stuff like that.
Heartbeat.
Yeah.
Just got to
So
stretch
like,
out.
his being able to challenge, not be so codependent, be like, this isn't okay. You're really spiraling. You're tired. You know, like, I don't know if you've seen these TikToks where like, do you need a snack? She's like, I'm going to do force. He's like, do you need some nachos? You know, like, it's funny because there's truth in it. When they, like our friends Henry and Tara, they talk about this, but she talks about the man is like the glass and the woman is like the water. And
I heard that before. I love that. Yeah.
and he's been that for me. The more I realized the safety and the home he's provided me, spiritually and emotionally, they allowed us to get more creative about financial, and now he's contributing significantly in every business action. So he really helped us heal that thing.
Yeah. You said something on lunge right there of stability allowing you to get creative.
Yeah.
Right? Because it really is hard to be creative in a stressed, scared, scarcity mindset, right? And so the fact that the two of you had each other, there was stability there, even as crazy things were going on, that allowed you to make work, to co-models, to go through that process. Geoff, I'll ask you, like, to listeners that are in a maybe non-traditional dynamic, right? Let's speak directly to men that have been in a situation where maybe they're the stay-at-home dad. What would you say to them? How they handled that? What's worked for you?
What's worked for me? I think it's so individual, right? Like, there's no template for the second dad model, let's call it that. It was, weird to obviously look at our dynamic. And, it wasn't like I just didn't do anything at all. It's just like,
Right.
you wanted something.
Oh yeah, it was huge battle creator, like constant.
10 different jobs and business opportunities and things that we pursued. And that's fine because that's life, and that already goes to plan in those sort of ways, I guess. But because her career was just so going to the moon, and she had such demand and was always being assumed, had to be headhunted and stuff like that. It gave me that ability to try these great things. We started a lime salt company in Mexico. We started a gel bank company at China. And things worked, things didn't work, and that's okay. We learned to love that amazing adventure. But I think you get so distracted by social norms, social pressure, be told what you need to do by, whether it's men or also female role. Like she said, it's like, this was our story, this is our life and our experience. And for us, it worked. Sometimes it didn't, and we adjusted and pivoted and made it the best we could. And so to answer your question, I think the message would be, have that dialogue with what, we're going to hang on, we're going to be doing this startup mode for the next 2 years. It's going to be rough, and it's going to be horrible, and it's going to be incredible and all the things, and just be open about it. Say, this is life for us.
You just be all in.
We're going to give it a shot, and it's going to be great. Maybe it's not. Let's not resent each other along the way. Let's give each other benefit for doubt. Let's forgive each other. Let's be that strength when that strength's needed, and vice versa. And as long as your goal as a spouse is, as long as my person feels loved and forgiven and safe, life can come and you can laugh it off. You're like, we're good. As long as that core, that foundation of being together and treating each other daily.
It's just a better way.
Sounds like it can prevent life. It's going to come again. The
Yeah.
hard stuff, the easy stuff, the good stuff. But as long as that foundation is laid, to hell with what you think should happen, the cultural expectations, just be together by your own story.
Yeah.
And try and lead the pressure from everyone else away.
Yeah.
One thing
They
that
matters is each other, in that regard.
One thing that Geoff has taught me so well is because I do love this 2,000-year-old radical rabbi. His name is Jesus. And he says this great thing. He says, how you know you're following me is how you love one another, right? And some people in his time were trying to trip him up on that. Like, well, you can't, because they were really waiting for a Messiah to come that would like liberate them from occupation, from tyrants and justice. And they wanted like a violent revolution. They wanted a physical outcome. He was talking about freedom eternally and spiritually and forgiveness and turning the cheek and taking the path the second mile. Just radical stuff he was talking about. So acultural, and they were all so disappointed. And it's like they wanted to challenge him, and they would say like, well, who's, he said, the greatest commandment of all is loving a neighbor. It transcends all other laws. And they'd be like, well, who's our neighbor? And then, and goes to tell the story of like what they would consider an enemy, a Samaritan, kind of showing that he saw that love mattered most, despite whatever was going on in the culture. What Geoff really showed me is that like there's no closer neighbor in the world than your spouse. And he has loved me so well. And I mean, how do you repay something like that? So in many ways, like it took my, getting help too, like, therapy and friends and other people and reading books and getting educated and just being okay with not being okay. See, this isn't really working. That was hard for me to admit because marriage was such a gift always. And it is. I actually cherish it more because of the hard things. But he would often say like, I'd be crying or, frustrated. I'd be spewing my fears, which really would make him hear I'm not enough, right? Or I'd be calling for help or say, when I tap out, you get in the arena, I hate this gladiator shit, And he'd be like, I want to, I see what you're doing, I'm trying, but the message he got, his fear body was like, I'm not enough, which is like, I just wanted to slay the dragon. Or really, like, I'll just say this, like, to men, I'm telling you, when your wife is being crazy, this is like the ultimate hack. Every man take it though. And I don't care who you are, even if your wife is probably going to be crazy at some point. My problem being myself would sound like a psycho guy. But every woman knows you get emotional, and like if you want to basically proverbially choke your wife's crazy out, you do it by leaning into her with love. If you become more calm and more emotionally in, because everything inside your body as a man is to be like, go away, you psycho. I want to protect yourself.
Or breaks it.
Avoid
That's me. She tells me stop.
Yes, fixing it is another form of like control, but you're actually just in fear as a man. So if you're responding in fear, but if you lean in, which Geoff does beautifully, it's like, like just power down all the ugly. Because if he would just show up and be like, oh my gosh, I can see you're so scared. I'm so sorry. Like, let me help. And it's actually even just physically holding. When she's being crazy, raising your voice, being super ugly, whatever it is, hug her. It's the last thing you want to do. Hug her. I swear to you, every time. Even though I know, I didn't know it. Don't you hug here. Like, how are you? It's like, it just need containment and like this masculine, to know that I'm not going here. I can be my worst self. Yeah, I can be my worst, most broken, most scared self. Because anger, really, when a woman's angry, it's really fear. Yeah, always. It's sadness and fear. So if you go to that little girl and you comfort that little girl, and not in a codependent way where you're, needy, or even when you're like, you're doing it from, I need her to be okay with me because you're actually scared. If you're doing it from love, not for love, like it will work every time. I swear to you. Some guys getting you in the balls. I would feel so bad. But like, I really think it's one of the most powerful things a man could do. It's just like lean in on a woman when she's dysregulated. He just does that so beautifully. Well, we're like, it's been a while since we've had any conflict. It's been beautiful because we've shifted, we did the work.
I think the last probably 6 months of our marriage is probably the best to date. Yeah.
It gets better each action.
Yeah. It's one thing to like each other, but you have to like each other too. So
Geoff's a secret weapon in business too. I bring him around all this because I do it. It's the most powerful man in the world without exaggeration.
She was hanging out with Richard Branson on a private island a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Like, yes, and the two of them are on stage.
Yeah, so people like Richard, these billionaires, these titans, these alphas, these like truly these captains of their industry, and they get around Geoff, and he's like a Prozac for these men. Like he's like an anti-anxiety medication because he's not posturing it anyway. I think men naturally in the wild, subconscious, they're like, where do I fit this hierarchy? And like start to like do the ho-ho, and they start to see where they fit. And he's just like, dude, you're the king. Like I just totally am here to like say great little one-liner Australian jokes. and just think you're awesome because he doesn't have any of that need.
It's like, you're pretty. Say.
Yeah, but he's super masculine too. So it's, like, it's like the most alpha, beta, and alpha guy you've ever met, where he's not trying. And so people find him so infectious. He's definitely everybody's favorite. I just want to be liked, and he doesn't care if anyone likes him, and everyone likes him, and then I don't get liked. And it's just this poor, faithful, and not true to read. But like his other centricness, the way he's so present to other people and just about them, is so disarmingly infectious and joyful. So I bring them around, and then they like me more. That's how I figured it out.
It's definitely been the case with Bree with me.
You know,
Yeah, I bring her around. I'm suddenly more likable. I want to ask the same closing, kind of a final question for you, Lindsay. I look around this audience, and we have some really amazing women in this room. My mom, my sisters, some of my sister's friends, their next interview, right? Tiffany Berg helped me write my book. I see Kim, who is there as we fell in love in Columbia, right? And so for strong women listening that want to make a difference in the world, make an impact, maybe be career-led and do that, but have maybe been told that that's in opposition to a marriage or a relationship, or you have to pick one or the other, mom or this, what would you say to those women out there?
well, I think like Geoff said, there's no one size fits all. But I will say that nothing will replace the joy of relationships in your life. Nothing. No accolade, no external validation, no bank account number, nothing. And I'm telling you, I've worked intimately and you're closely involved with the most powerful and influential, successful people on planet Earth. And it really is fool's gold. Like some of them have learned, it's fun, it's so joyful. They will say it like at the end of the day, all that matters are relationships. All that matters is love. It's cheesy and it sounds trite, but it's so real. And so if you can be content with everything, if you can just wake up every day grateful, and as a woman realizing that like, man, it's tough, like be sincerely aware that like, yeah, we have some disadvantages. I don't think it's as dismal as sometimes it's painted in culture. I think that the market rewards value, and if you're a value creator, they don't care what gender or race or anything else. But it's harder to create value because we're not starting with an even playing field. So that's true. But there's a lot of hope, fortunately, in the market today. People, I think they've done the multivariate analysis. Only 90% of the time is there like a bias for how someone looks or their gender or whatever. Most of the time, it's actually just the fact that women tend to take care of their dying parents and their caregivers to little children. They even were forced to have babies. Women tend to have more basically well-rounded lives.
Right.
They tend to be interested in jobs that don't pay as high per capita. There's like a bunch of factors. They're not as agreeable, so they don't ask for, they're more agreeable. They need to learn how to be less agreeable so they can get raised with some challenge and be competitive. So it's not just because they're women that are not winning, but like at the end of the day, I don't think those are bad names.
No, I think they're admirable.
And super useful, beautiful things that, so I would just say as a woman, recognizing that you have unique gifts that the world is opening up to masculine gift, that the masculine frame is becoming more egalitarian and allowing more feminine ways of doing business and seeing the world in the women's gaze in all different crafts. And we're seeing that. And I think it's awesome because I really feel like the more that we have diverse thought, we can have, we'll have better products. The more, like, I think we all need each other. We're herd animals. We're not very fast. We can't fly. We don't have very sharp teeth and nails. We need each other to survive this crazy spinning rock. And we need to count half the population as much as the other half. And I'm seeing so much in business. Beautiful men like Geoff make space for women to shine. Like I've always felt like in my mind's eye, like I imagine him. Because I've been on stages a lot, like literally holding my coat while I go up on stage. And like there's something so beautiful about that. And like I think if you can find, if it's not a man in your life, but friends in your life that can everybody hold your coat, and then make sure you hold your coat for others, like just be so celebratory. I think you're gonna have so much success. But I would just say the world tells you you can have it all, and I think that's kind of a myth. I think that ultimately we have to choose and choose wisely. Whatever our gods are, we sacrifice our relationships at the altar of that God. And nothing can replace like the failure inside my family and my home.
So I think we need to address that we are lucky. We're lucky we have each other. We're lucky my personality, her personality matched it. We're still married and still friends. Like that's statistically, we're probably on the low end of that. Yeah. So the fact that we have loving family and the ability to not starve if we're hungry, we're so lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not everybody gets that. Most people don't actually. Yeah. And so acknowledging that is key.
Yeah. And there it is right there, gratitude. Driver, you think you're lucky. The luck comes by you. You have a gift.
I do. So I recently started a jewelry business called Oksha Chings, and I created a butterfly piece, which is very special to me. Butterflies to me resemble my connection to my son on the other side. And I'm gifting them to people who I feel are badasses, or maybe they're going through something in their life, transformational periods. And I would love to give this butterfly to you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Yes.
So big.
Yes.
Sweet. I'll cherish this. Thank you.
Yes. Love that.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. No, we love that. It's been cool and cool in her healing process too of getting busy, doing stuff, getting out there, and taking that step. And what a great role model of that. Yeah.
So kind.
Okay, well, we end the episode we called the WTF Minutes. Something I do when we go out, we help people with brands and their messaging and all that stuff. As I say, all right, tell me what you do in 60 seconds. And it's really hard to get that clear. It's also really important because our attention spans are short, and that's how long you have to post on a YouTube short. We strategize this. That's where it's going. So I'm going to give Lindsay, you want to take the reign, right? Will you actually set the clock for 60 seconds? It's 4 points. Oh, you're not ready. Never mind. Just go. I'll track it.
Okay.
60 seconds. You're going to talk about the Harbor Fund?
Yeah.
Awesome. Go for it.
So what I'm doing now is I started a first of its kind venture capital shaped 501c3 film fund. What that means is philanthropists can donate into this fund on a basic film or TV show that has a social good. So you guys remember Blood Diamond and Schindler's List and Inconvenient Truth, that Hotel Rwanda and Erin Brockovich, these types of movies that have some social issue. We're making TV shows and movies like this. And we're leveraging philanthropic dollars to do so. And then our fund takes an equity position in these properties and shows. And then we produce these properties, and when they'll be out in the wild in the next year, we have like 8 or 9 different TV shows and movies coming out. And when they're out, you'll be able to see them. But the returns, so if you go buy tickets and support it, or you don't even wants to get into film, but not as an investor per se, as a philanthropist, like the patrons of old that used to fund, the Michelangelos to give us the Sistine Chapel. Well, if you can give a beautiful Mona Lisa and donate to the Louvre, Louvre, so to speak, why can't you give, a Hotel Rwanda and give them to the world? Why movie take it? Oh. And so we are leveraging philanthropic dollars. We're raising $100 million. So we'll be in the top 1% in film financing. We're making all kinds of great movies. And so I'm excited for the world to hear. It's called the Harbor Fund.
Cool. Very cool. The power of stories and making a difference. We kind of believe in that. That's what we're trying to do.
So fun.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This is enjoyable to hear your story. Give them a huge round of applause. Thank you.